touch, they break, they steal, no one here is free. Here they come for thee, unless you listen to Dave and Stacie.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions with my co-host Stacie here to talk about From Season 3, Episode 7, titled These Fragile Lives. The episode's description reads as follows. The edges begin to fray as concerns about Fatima's pregnancy deepen, and Jade follows a clue trail into the forest. Julia and Randall seek a little bit of normalcy. The episode teleplay was by John Griffin, with a story by Jeff Pinkler and John Griffin, directed by Bruce McDonald. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms this podcast is now available on, please follow, and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. Alright, shoutouts this week. I got SRH, who said he's been leaning towards a drug trial for volunteer PTSD sufferers, but then there's so much more stuff that doesn't seem to connect to this theory whatsoever, and this place would probably cause PTSD, so how would it help with that? So he basically proposes the theory and then shoots his own theory down.
And that's the thing with all the theories is like some stuff fits and other stuff doesn't.
Right.
Because there's just so much stuff going on in this show. And I really, really hope whatever it is becomes this beautiful explanation that makes us go, oh, it all makes sense now.
Yes.
I really, really hope so.
Me too. Latrice, she said, I wonder if Victor's dad being in town will finally make him want to get out of From to go live a real life with him, or just save his dad from the horrors of the town. Maybe he'll be more motivated to solve the mystery. And that seems to be borne out by evidence within the show itself. So
I definitely think that she's onto something. Of course, these are comments coming in after 305 aired. So as those comments are being made, they haven't seen 306, 307 yet. Where we learn that, he is motivated to help now because he's trying really hard to get this doll to give us some answers.
Right, and that plays out within this episode.
A little bit.
Yeah. So, if so, hopefully it doesn't lead to a tragic end for him. I feel like Victor, like Boyd, has to be one of the people to make it out of this end of the series. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'd like to take us back to some of the discussion on 304 for a moment.
304? Okay.
Yes. Basically, there's a lot of people commenting that Boyd should have just taken the ambulance and run over the monsters to save Randall. I'm not seeing it. I'm not totally convinced that would even work. And if you're wrong in your calculations and you don't manage to do anything to the monsters, everybody dies.
Right.
So
I think he could have tried a little bit to negotiate the situation instead of literally just leaving.
But he has a split second to make this decision.
And also they made it pretty clear, like, this is what we want in order to let you go. Like, they were offering him a deal.
Yes.
It wasn't just like opportunity.
Right.
He knows enough that whatever they want is what happens.
Right. Yes. Yep.
So, yeah.
So, I saw a lot of those type of comments. I just think that if you make the wrong decision, everybody dies, and you can't really risk that.
Yeah. And again, it was so quick. He did what,
he had to do,
what he
really.
had to do. Yeah.
All right, so any discussion from you on the reception for these episodes?
305.
Yes. Yeah,
so here's what's going on in the internet after fans have watched 305. So for 2.5 seasons, right, fans have been begging for a town meeting. Why are they not having meetings? Why are we not communicating? They should have a town meeting every day. How many times have we seen that comment?
Yes, a lot.
Okay. Now we had a town meeting in 305. You know what I'm seeing? People complaining that we wasted screen time with a town meeting and with people telling each other things we already know. And I totally saw that coming.
Yeah.
You can't please everybody.
No.
we don't ever have it, and people are like, why isn't this happening? Well, they never tell each other anything. Well, obviously they're telling each other some things. We just don't see it. We don't need to see every single conversation between every character because that would get really boring really fast.
Yes.
But now they do it one time, and I saw multiple people complaining about it, that it was a waste of screen time.
At this point, I have actually no sympathy for any of the complaints that I see online whatsoever. I mean, if you're talking about the creative choices, I don't have any real sympathy for any of the complaints about anything, honestly. It's at this point, you're either along for this ride or you should stop watching.
Right.
Now, if your complaints about what characters do or shouldn't do, okay, I can see that's a discussion worth having. But complaints about the creative aspects of the show, I just don't have much sympathy for some of the things that I see. A lot of it, actually.
Yeah. But, you know, that's the thing, too, is the bigger a fan base gets, especially, like, the fan base in discussion groups, which is where we're seeing a lot of this, the bigger it gets, like, the more stupid it's gonna get, you know, no matter what the topic is.
We're definitely seeing a lot of stupid.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
So a lot of fans, I noticed, this week after watching 305 are really hooked up on the fact that Henry pointed out there isn't a motel, even though there's a motel sign. And they're acting like we don't already know this. Mm-hmm. Like, we've known this since season 1.
Right.
There's a motel sign and a motel pool and no motel. Like, that's a thing.
Yes.
And the reason, you know, Henry's pointing it out is because it's his first day here.
Right.
And, I don't know, a lot of these fans are acting like it's their first day here, too.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if people just aren't paying attention. Now, I don't think people listening to us think these are new details.
No.
I just find it a little fascinating that, you know, I saw so many people like, oh my goodness, wow, why do we never notice there's no motel?
Right.
There's no motel, obviously.
And fans on the Facebook groups have been pointing that out for forever. So
right.
These must be like new fans?
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird because it's not like one comment. I saw like a dozen comments like that. Also, the newest theory, as again of when 305 aired, was that Kimono Woman is not Fatima. People think it's Julie now.
I 100% don't see it.
I buy this even less than the it's Fatima theory.
Right.
I don't understand why it's a thing, but again, I saw multiple people talking about this.
Interesting.
And I don't know why. And at the same time, I saw so many people complaining about Julie. People don't like her this week. They don't like Julie. People weren't even remembering her names. I saw so many different instances where they were like, Tabitha's daughter, that girl. They weren't even like using her name. They were like Elgin and that brat. A lot of people were complaining about the scenes with Elgin and Julie in the basement and all of that, saying it was a waste of time. And I don't get it. I don't get the hate for Julie, and I don't get the hate for that storyline.
Right.
But I saw these over and over again, which is why I'm bringing it up, is that, you know, it's a topic of discussion this week.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the hate for Jim. I understand.
Sure.
Yeah, but Julie isn't any different than any other teenage girl.
Yeah.
She's a realistic
and I'm kind of happy that they're giving her agency to talk about what she's dealing with. I'm
also seeing the same complaints about Ethan. Like, they say they hate Ethan and this and that. Like, he's a normal 10-year-old kid to me. I mean, I guess he's younger than that.
He's supposed to be 8,
right?
Ethan.
But still, he's normal.
No, 10 is a good number because Ethan's 8 and Simon's 12.
Gotcha.
So yeah, he's 10.
So I'm splitting the difference, really. And I'm like, I don't get your hatred of this kid because he's just acting like a kid does. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah, but...
and there's one more thing I want to talk about that surfaced, like, in the Facebook groups and stuff this week, which doesn't have anything to do with these episodes specifically, but this is a conversation that's happening right now, as of, you know, when we're talking, which might be forgotten about by the time this airs, by the time, you know, people are actually hearing us. But people are talking about there being a Mandela effect with From.
Okay.
And specifically regarding Donna and her background story.
All right.
And I've seen many posts about this, which is why, you know, I'm bringing it up.
Are you talking about how they thought they saw Donna and her sister
so
together?
Many different posts in different From groups. They're calling it a Mandela effect. Like, I've seen multiple people say that's what's happening at this point. where half the people in the thread are saying, I saw the scene where Donna's sister was killed. We watched that happen.
No.
And the other people are with us because, we've watched the series, scrutinizing every scene. No, Donna just told that story.
Right.
She told a story, and we saw a picture of her and her sister in a frame, and that's all we got of the sister.
Yes.
But there's so many people that are insisting they remember seeing that scene.
And perhaps it's because Donna painted such a vivid picture of it.
But I also have another take to talk about.
Okay.
Because...
You think it might actually be
in this
alternate reality?
In this conversation, it sparked a memory for me.
All right.
Not of seeing that scene.
Okay.
I know I didn't ever see that scene. But it sparked a memory of me from when season 1 was airing. So it's before you and I were talking about the show. And it's before I was in these Facebook groups. So I was racking my brain trying to figure out what this memory was from. But I was talking to somebody, and I feel like it was online. But I don't think I was in from group, so I don't know who I would have been talking to. And I feel like it was somebody who lived in Canada, like where the show started. And specifically, this conversation was about Bing Kwan's death scene.
Okay.
Kenny's dad.
Yes.
Specifically, where somebody was telling me that in the version they watched, and this was like as it was happening. This was season 1 conversation. That somebody specifically told me that in the version they watched, they showed him getting killed.
Okay.
And they showed whole different cuts. Because I feel like the conversation was something about the talisman. And, like, where was the talisman? And was there one in the basement or just the one at the door? And I can't figure out who this was. Because, again, I don't feel like I was in from groups way back then. Maybe I was in one. And I even tried searching, like, looking for something where this conversation came from. And I couldn't figure it out. It's just like this vague memory. I'm like, I remember having that conversation. And somebody was like, yeah, there was this other cut. And I want to say it was like, that was shown in Canada or somewhere. Okay. That was different than the cut we got here on Epix.
Gotcha.
And I remember just being like, oh, that's cool that there's like deleted scenes, right? And I was thinking about that when I was reading this thread. And I realized that would have been the same episode. Episode 2.
Yeah, okay.
The episode where Kenny's dad dies.
Yes.
Is the same episode where Donna tells her sister's story.
Right, yeah, okay.
So, I'm thinking, maybe it really is possible there's a different cut out there somewhere.
Possibly, okay.
Where there were these deleted scenes that aren't in Epix MGM Plus, but were in, wherever it was airing first run. Because remember, we didn't even get it at the same time, season 1.
Right. Yeah.
It was like a few weeks off of each other. Now they're airing at the same time, season 2 and 3. But when it first started, that wasn't the case.
Oh, okay.
There was a couple weeks off before and so I don't know.
Maybe that scene actually did exist.
Maybe it exists in some early version of episode 2.
Okay.
That we never got.
Huh.
But my question is, and I meant, this was just like today, like I'd already had my notes printed that I'm reading all this and so I wrote this in chicken scratch on my notes. But my question is, I want to go back to the people who insist they see it and say, well, where do you live?
Right.
And when did you watch? Were you watching from day 1, or are you someone who just started binging 2 weeks ago?
Right.
Are you in the U.S. watching on MGM? Do you live in Canada? Do you live in some other country? That's what I want to look at the data.
Okay.
Because there's definitely going to be people who are like, yeah, I remember that, who don't remember that because it didn't happen.
Right.
But is it possible there's people who are saying they remember that because they might have actually seen a different cut of the episode?
Interesting.
And I feel like it's something we need to dig in deeper.
All right.
I think it's a deep dive thing for us. Maybe actually talk to some of the actors and see if we can get any consensus on were these scenes ever filmed.
All right. Well, that sounds like a homework assignment for next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. We actually have to talk about a TV show now, don't we?
Oh, yes. So, your thoughts on this week's episode.
Whew. I enjoyed it. I enjoy all of them. I mean, it's a great show. It's from.
Yes.
I enjoy every episode. And it doesn't have to be a big, busy episode. Now, we've had a couple in a row now where not a whole lot of, action-y things happen. I'm cool with that.
I am as well.
I know a lot of the fan base isn't. And they're going to be like, oh, this is getting really boring. When is something going to happen?
Right.
But things are happening.
Yes.
Things are happening.
Especially by the end of this episode. I did not see that coming. So, I was actually kind of spoiled. I read the episode description.
Yeah.
So I knew something bad was going to happen within this episode. I did not think that they were going to do what they ended up doing. And at various points, I'm watching, oh my God, this is when it's going to happen. Like a teapot is going to explode and kill Ellis, or Julie is going to crash in this car and she's going to die.
Oh, I was screaming at Randall.
Yes,
like
yeah.
Stop the freaking car.
But, yeah.
So, yeah. And then, of course, we'll get there when we get there, but talking about the end scene.
Yeah.
I'm watching it like, is this really happening? Is somebody dreaming? This
Right.
can't be really happening.
Right, yeah.
But no, I'm pretty sure it's really happening.
Yeah, the creators are going on a killing spree this season.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
killing characters off left and right.
It's like every other episode.
yeah,
Somebody
exactly.
has died.
Yep. Yeah, somebody that we know. And yeah, so if you're telling me that nothing happened this season, I just don't agree.
Some people, they want a high action episode every episode, and that's a just totally different kind of show.
That has never been what this series has been. Ever.
Right.
Even back in season 1 where they're like, oh yeah, season 1 was so much better. No, season 1 has the same rhythms.
Same. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I mean, we've had that conversation many
Okay, so
times.
this episode has every one of our main cast in it. We didn't miss anybody this week. I like when that happens.
Yeah.
As opposed to, some of the weeks it's like, well, 5 people weren't there and there's no reason why we didn't. I mean, not that we need to spend time with everybody.
Mm-hmm. We just
But it's just nice to remember they exist.
Yeah.
Right? When we don't see somebody for a few weeks in a row, it's a little weird. Because it's like, well, where are they when all this is happening?
Especially in the case of Bacta in the first couple episodes.
Yeah, like she wasn't even in the credits.
Right.
And she's a main cast member. So that was weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So everybody, we got a peek of everybody, and I feel like they really, this is something we talk about in other shows about, if there's too many characters and they're trying to spend too much time with all of them, it gets weird. We have a lot of characters in this show, and I feel like they, for the most part, do a really good job balancing them.
Yeah, I agree. I think I cited this series as an example of a show that does do a really good job of that.
I mean, we have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 main characters at this moment in time. Main cast members.
That's kind of absurd.
That's a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, they all have a scene. Mm-hmm. And, some of them are more important than others. Some of them are just kind of there, and they get one line, and that's okay.
Yep.
But we see the day-to-day. They're all living there. They're all living their lives.
Right.
And throughout the season, they all have something to do.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I just think they do a good job with such a big cast.
Yeah.
It's not easy to pull that off, I think.
Elgin has finally stopped sleeping. He's actually doing something.
He's doing something. I'm a little scared of what he's doing.
Yeah,
I don't think I want to know.
I'm not quite sure where that story is going.
I feel like it's bad.
Yeah.
I get bad vibes from whatever's happening with Elgin.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about that. But yeah.
Now, one thing about the cast. This is the first episode this season, episode 7, that Clara's not in.
Oh, wow. What do you know?
Who's not a main cast member.
Yeah.
She's an additional cast.
Yep.
But she was in episodes 1 through 6. She's not in this episode.
Oh.
I've been telling you. I'm waiting for something to happen with her. I feel like it's coming.
Yeah.
I feel like it's coming because she wasn't in this one. We were like, let's forget about her for a second. Mm-hmm. And I think, boom, she's going to be big deal.
All right.
I'm waiting. I'm still waiting for it.
We'll see it. All right. So anything else to say before diving in?
Let's just go for it.
Okay. So we begin the episode with Christy asking Fatima questions about, what she's experiencing. Christy thinks that she is exhibiting signs of a condition that causes the body to think it's pregnant when it's not. And Fatima is not taking this very well. She flips out on Ellis, who's trying to give her something to drink, and she just knocks it out of his hand. And Mariel goes, she ends up taking off. Mariel goes with them and Ellis back to Colony House to deal with that situation.
Yeah, she's going to go, give her an IV and take care of her.
Christy, meanwhile, is giving Boyd crap for not telling her about Fatima's symptoms, and then Boyd flips out on her and tells her to do her fucking job.
Yeah.
And Boyd is flipping out on everybody this season.
He is. He's having a little bit of a break. Our leaders are breaking down.
Yes.
Boyd and Donna both.
Yes.
they need some help.
Yeah.
We need some other characters to step up and take some leadership roles because the stress is getting to these two.
I mean, I would suggest that Acosta could do that, but Boyd and Acosta are not getting along.
I really feel like they're going to be the best of friends eventually. And she's going to be helpful and actually like help run the station. It's going to take us a minute to get there, though, I think.
And I'm not sure that I like her at this current time.
I don't think we're supposed to, though.
No, probably
I think
not.
we're going to.
Yeah.
I really think we're going to get past this, the bumps. But yeah, she tells her to do her fucking job. And you know what? I don't see her getting paid for this job.
Right.
Why is this her job to figure out a solution?
Right.
Because basically it's like, what are we going to do for her? And she's like, I don't know what to do for her.
To a complicated medical situation that even in the real world we would have problems with.
Right. So they came to, and this is repeated throughout the entire episode, is what's going on with Fatima. It's either A or B.
Yeah.
Either she's lost it,
yes.
and they constantly are comparing her to Abby, saying she's having a breakdown and we got to watch her because something bad has snapped in her and it's a danger to her and possibly other people, and we got to help her. Or B, it's some crazy Fromville shit.
Right.
And they're comparing it to Boyd's worms in his arms.
Yes.
They're like, we know crazy Fromville shit happens.
Yes.
So maybe, like, she is being invaded by some invisible force.
Yep.
And everybody acknowledges that could be the thing.
Right.
So throughout the whole episode, every conversation about Fatima is, well, it's either this bad thing or this other bad thing.
Right.
And we don't know what to do about either of them.
Right. So he goes out into the rain, and then we have our credits. Que sera, sera. And then when we come back, we cut to Victor trying to interrogate Jasper.
He's interrogating Jasper. You've been waiting for it.
Yes.
It happens here.
Yep.
Jasper won't talk. We learn that he's been doing this all night long.
And Henry ends up knocking on the door. He's very concerned for his son. He says he can't keep doing this. You've been up all night and all morning trying to get a puppet to talk. And yeah, this conversation does not go well. Victor ends up leaving.
Yeah, he says, I can't do this here, and he takes Jasper. Now, I do want to point out during this scene, I found I don't know if I want to say it was a filming thing or if it was scripted like this, like if it was writing or editing, or I'm not sure who I'm applauding here, but I loved how it was done. Victor believes Jasper's sentient, right? And can talk, and that's what he's seeing in his flashback is this doll being alive. It's not, right? We're just seeing a puppet. Now, to be fair, Jade has seen it do something in his visions of it.
Right.
But in person, no, it's just a piece of wood, right? So it's just sitting there. It's not alive. It's not doing anything. But the fact that it's in a rocking chair and Victor hits the rocking chair, so it's moving. Jasper's moving because the rocking chair is moving. And I just felt like it was this beautifully portrayed thing where it's not responding, it's not alive, it's not doing anything, but at the same time, it's not just sitting there.
Right.
We're giving it movement.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And I just thought it was beautiful.
So I'm kind of wondering if perhaps that's what was going on at the same time, that Victor perhaps saw something.
No, I'm sure something is more to it. Like
Okay.
there has to be something crummy to it. Like
Gotcha.
maybe something had, possessed it. The ballerina.
Yes.
I don't know.
Right.
Something. But I'm sure it's not like literally like the doll itself. But I'm sure Victor saw something. He just doesn't know what he saw.
Gotcha. So Elgin has a chime for Fatima. I'm pretty sure this is like a dream catcher.
It's not
deal?
a dream catcher because dream catchers are round.
Yeah, okay.
I called it a wind chime. At first I thought it was supposed to be like a mobile, like for the baby.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of strings with like shells and rocks and stuff tied to it. So it's something, something pretty.
He's showing Tilly, and Tilly thinks that Fatima's really going to like it. And when she leaves, the camera goes off by itself. He looks at the picture. We do not see what it is.
Yeah, and so yeah, he hangs the wind chime up. That's when the camera goes off. And based on this and what happens later in the episode, I just feel like every single thing he's doing, starting with the wind chime itself, is because Kimono Woman told him to do it.
Probably.
Like, I think every little tiny detail of him in this episode is him following out some direction that's being told to him.
And I am not at all convinced that it's a good thing.
It can't be.
No.
It can't be.
No. So meanwhile, Fatima, Ellis, and Mariel are back at the colony house. Fatima is getting frustrated that no one believes that she is pregnant. She desperately wants Ellis to believe her. And then we cut to Boyd and Donna walking and talking about the situation. Again, we're talking A and B. Either Fatima's losing her mind, or maybe it's a Worms-like situation. Donna thinks that Fatima should not be at Colony House right now because she could be a danger. And Boyd testily says that he can make room in the sheriff's office. And of course, Donna's like, Boyd, I'm not talking about doing this right now, but okay, well, when are you talking about doing this then?
Basically, she's like, I don't want you to be upset that I'm kicking them out.
Right.
And he's like, I agree with you. And they're both just angry, but they're agreeing with each other.
Right. It's angry at the situation, not necessarily at what either one of them is saying.
Right, but they're both acting like the other one's angry with them.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, I know. And
it's funny.
I like it. I love it.
It's
the
funny,
relationship thise two have.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said that since we started this podcast. This is a really compelling relationship to watch. It is definitely a highlight of this series. What's funny to me is that I've seen people shipping these two, and I completely disagree with that. But at the same time, the way they act here is very couple-ish. Well,
yeah, they're the parents of From.
Yeah.
They're in charge.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that, they're going to have these moments of, disagreeing on how they're raising their kids.
Right, yes. So Jim is at the scary statue area and is picking through fruit. And who should come into town but his son, Jade, and Tabitha. And by the way, I laughed a lot during this entire scene.
Did you?
I did, and it's not because of anything that's actually happening on screen.
Okay.
I mean, it is a little bit. Because Jade comes in, he's completely oblivious to how this is playing. I mean, everybody is. But to Jim, Jade is now the other man.
In your head.
I know. And the reason that it plays like that is because of our discussions of Jabitha.
Yeah.
And that's why I was laughing at the scene, is because I'm just watching Jim going, he totally thinks there's something going on here. And
well, at least they're not alone. The kids.
Yeah.
Before we go too farther in that, Jim's there with the two people in the party this time, and one of them is Colony House resident number 12.
That would be which one?
A new one.
Okay.
She's played by Nancy Kenny. This is her first credit in From. I don't know if we've seen her in background before or not.
Gotcha.
But we've talked about her before.
We have.
She has background in Kids vs. Aliens.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I remember talking about her because she also is in an episode of Sullivan's Crossing. She was in the pilot episode of Sullivan's Crossing as an FBI agent.
All right. During that opening scene.
Yeah. During the Bob's getting arrested scene.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, she's a Colony House resident now.
Cool.
Who, spoke to Jim about the vegetables. And then the other one with them doesn't have a line, so that's an unnumbered Colony House resident that's there as well that's not allowed to talk.
Okay.
But yeah, Colony House resident number 12, safe for now because she doesn't have a name.
So she's the one that's basically like, are you coming, Jim?
Right.
And I'm like, I see her say this, and I'm like, okay, his family just arrived?
Right.
Like, what is with the two?
Right.
Like,
I mean, maybe be like, oh, great, there's more people here who can help us carry stuff.
Right, yeah.
And you know what I was confused about this? I thought there wasn't enough time in the day to go to the cabins and to go back.
Right.
I thought it takes more than half a day trip.
Well, yeah.
But
maybe this is the next morning?
Jade, Tabitha, and Ethan just got here, which means they
Okay.
walked here
Gotcha.
during daylight.
Right.
And these people are leaving at the same time, meaning they're going to walk all the way home.
Right.
While it's still daylight.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like that fits.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I get
They're going both directions in a day.
That makes sense. Unless they're like stopping at the hut or something.
Maybe
along
they're
those
stopping
lines.
at the hut.
But why would they do that?
But yeah,
Why not just
I
stay
don't
here?
feel like they've done that before.
No.
I feel like it's you come here one day, you leave the next morning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have a point there.
Yeah, okay.
But either way, Jim has decided to stay.
I think we're making these, as we go, we're making these two locations closer to closer, and we're going to try and make us forget, that it's a full day's journey.
Maybe they're going through the faraway tree.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, anyway. So Jim is pretty much flabbergasted by the entire situation as is explained to him. I called Colony House resident number
12
Rude County because of her like, are you coming, Jim, or what? Like, I don't know what's with. Is it a rule in the show that everybody has to act like an ass?
Maybe. Well, Dale's gone. So
okay, but she is not going to replace Dale. I'm sorry. You are not a fitting replacement for Dale. You are no Dale. But anyway, okay. So exiting the clinic is Randall, who runs into Julie, who's staying the night because her family is away, or at least that's what she says. No, I am not buying this, Julie. You are staying here because Randall's going to be here.
Well, maybe.
Oh, no, no.
I buy that she doesn't want to stay home alone when her whole family's gone.
All right, fair enough. But
also, why didn't you go with your family?
Fair enough. Also, that is not why she chose to go to the clinic. She could have gone to Colony House.
Colony House seems like her first. It should have been her first
Fatima's
preference.
not exactly in the greatest mindset right now.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that.
So she could have gone there.
Right.
She's coming here specifically to be closer to Randall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
sorry, LJ.
Right. So she asks him, "Hey, why are you being weird after smoking weed?" Okay, she's acting like they've had sex. No, they just smoked weed.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, Randall is not the one acting weird. You are the one that's acting weird.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just going for a walk.
Right.
And she goes, you want me to come with you? And he says, no.
And she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to drop my bag off and I'm totally not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Which I think that's, I think she knows not to take Randall seriously when he says, no, I don't want the company. So I think she kind of knows that she's going to do this. But anyway, she is totally acting like a girl with a crush, for sure.
Yeah. But also, remember, they have things to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, maybe, although is this the night that, I was going to say maybe the three of them being in the clinic together would be a good thing, but Mary's not spending the night in the clinic. She's spending the night at Colony House. So we're still not putting these three in a room together to talk.
Right.
Which I think needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Because all three of them have not talked at the same time.
Nope.
That we've seen. But it feels like we're still dealing with that.
Yes.
And so I think they need to deal with it together.
Yeah.
And maybe actually come up with some answers.
Perhaps. So Elgin's picture leads into a storm cellar where
the root cellar.
The root cellar, where he discovers a room previously undiscovered, and it's because of the knocking. And we hear Lily coming down the stairs in real life, not in the show.
Yeah. So this is the root cellar. We've seen it a whole bunch of times before. When he goes in, there's fruit baskets everywhere. Did you notice that? And he picks one up.
Not.
He picks one up and looks at it. And I meant to kind of go back and look, and I didn't have a chance to. But I feel like every time we've seen this room before, it's been empty. Suddenly, there's like 6 baskets sitting here.
Well, maybe it's where they're storing the stuff that they're getting from creepy statue.
But they're all empty.
Oh, okay. Huh.
There's just that would make sense if they're putting. But there's just empty fruit baskets that I don't recall being there before. So everything about this visit to the root cellar seems different than the other ones. And I found this whole, we get to the secret room. He goes, so we know there's, a closet, right? We've seen the closet before. So he opens the closet. In the closet, there's a cabinet. He opens the cabinet. There's nothing in the cabinet. Then he hears the knocking you mentioned. So we've got the root cellar, closet, cabinet, secret door behind the cabinet. It's like, how many layers do we have to go through? I felt like we're going to end up in Narnia. That's what it felt like to me when we keep opening these doors. And do you know what he found behind the cabinet?
A very screwed up looking room.
A red door, which made me laugh. I don't know if you remember this conversation, but I think it was episode 302 or somewhere around there. When we went into Henry's basement, we saw all the artwork, and my comment on that is it was very under the domey for me.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Because seeing Miranda's paintings.
Yeah.
And the thing I made a joke about is now I'm just waiting for a red door to show up.
And now here we are.
And here we are. It's a very red door, and I just started laughing. Because, no, I don't think it's significant that this is a red door. But it was just so funny to me that I had made that joke. And I was like, oh, look, it's a red door. There's probably something important happening in this room now.
Yep. And it looks like some kind of medical facility or something. Some kind of I
didn't get that. I got that maybe somebody was living in here at some point. So there's a cot, which is stood up against the wall.
I thought I saw some kind of IV looking thing.
I didn't see that.
Maybe I'm hallucinating.
But I'm sure we're going to see this room again. So we'll get to know more about it, I'm sure. There's all an end table and a lantern or something. And we'll see more things the next time we see this in a few minutes. But the other thing I wanted to bring up, which isn't about the room, but about the fact that the Polaroid photo led him here. Like, that's what the photo was. It was a
Yes.
picture of the root cellar, and that's why he came here. The root cellar door. And my thought was, how many photographs does a Polaroid take per cartridge, before you have to reload it?
So, I think it's around 30, maybe?
I looked it up. It's 8.
Okay.
8.
So not only...
I mean, there are different models of Polaroid.
He-
Polaroid's been
he's-
around for 100 years, but like this famous 70s version that gives out these square pictures,
Yeah.
the cartridges hold 8 photos.
Interesting, and he's already taken that many pictures.
He's taken 3 times that much.
Yeah.
We saw stacks of pictures. He's taken everybody in Colony House's picture.
So either he found cartridges to go along with that,
Right,
or
which
this,
they definitely didn't show us.
or this is just some
Or
kind of magical
it's because
camera.
it's a magic camera, which it is, because it took a picture of the root cellar door by itself from Colony House.
Right. Okay.
So I was like, are we supposed to like pretend that, this is how Polaroid cameras work? And we're just, ignoring the fact that you have to like reload them every 8 pictures?
Right.
Or is it, hey, this is literally a magic camera? And between the camera and Jasper, this is really starting to feel very goosebumpsy. Like it really is.
Yeah, I see that. Yep.
Anyways, that's what I had to say about that.
So we cut to Acosta, who's visiting a freshly made grave. I'm assuming that this is Nikki.
I'm
the
assuming
person...
it's Nikki. Yeah, they must have found time to bury her.
Mm.
No more snacks for Fatima.
Yes, unfortunately for her. So she ends up visiting Kenny at the diner, who I think is making himself tea.
He gets out a jar of his mom's tea, and I was really
Yeah.
happy to see Mrs. Lou's tea.
Yep.
And so she goes in, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't serve food here anymore."
Right, yeah.
It felt really awkward.
Yeah, but she's not interested in that. She's asking a bunch of questions, like,
Why is there a diner here?
Yeah.
A sheriff's station that looks like a post office, and a travel agency sign. First time we're mentioning the sign in the whole series.
And she wants to know why no one is asking these questions. Hey, look, Acosta, you've been here for 2 seconds. This kind of reminds me of the From Facebook groups asking, why is nobody asking these questions?
Right.
How do you know that it hasn't been asked? We've
Right.
only been here for a couple weeks. This has been going on for far longer than the weeks that we've been
Right.
seeing this series.
But it's reminding us, like, hey, this is what happens with a new person. Like,
Right,
these are the same
yeah.
questions the Matthews family were asking
Right,
when
exactly.
they got here. This is how, someone is going to respond.
Right.
And bringing that up with the Facebook groups, how I said when Henry was talking about the motel
Yeah.
in episode 5, and the online reaction was all of a sudden people noticed that and was acting like it's new.
Yeah.
How much you want to bet after this episode 7 airs, people are going to be like, travel agency sign, what are they talking about? And then someone's going to post the picture of the sign, and they're going to be like, oh my goodness, why has nobody ever noticed that before? Why has nobody ever talked about it before?
So basically, we have a bunch of people within the show and within the Facebook groups that have very short memories.
It's all very meta.
Yes.
And I really do feel like that's intentional.
You think that they know that this? It does really feel like they anticipate the exact reactions that people are going to have.
Yeah. Like, it's like we're part of the experiment, if it's an experiment.
Yeah. So he offers her some tea.
I know!
Yes.
We don't have Mrs. Lou to do it, but he was like, do you want some tea?
Yes.
It's like, good boy.
So
Elizabeth Moy will be proud of Kenny.
And I am also proud of Kenny. Meanwhile, Ethan is prepping Jade with questions. What?
I don't know what you just said, but it was funny.
Peppering? I don't know. Peppering Jade with questions that he can't answer. Jim thinks that Tabitha is just trying to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, he's being Jim.
Yes, basically.
He's like, stop looking for answers.
Yeah, Jim thinks that this place screws with you, mentioning Sarah, mentions that he nearly got Donna killed, and Tabitha insists that this is different. He wants to know how. And I'm like, well, because Tabitha is not a dumbass like you are, Jim.
Right?
But yeah, so Tabitha insists that this is different. He's really not sure how, but she wants the space to figure this out.
Yeah, so
and Jim says,
she tells
okay.
us more about her dream.
Mm-hmm.
She said she had this nightmare every single night for months when she was a kid. The exact same nightmare, and every single night she woke up screaming. Like, this was a big deal to her. It wasn't just a one-time random dream. And but he just keeps trying to talk her out of investigating. He's gotten very complacent over the last couple episodes, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
I guess maybe having a house fall on you will do that to you. Is that what it is?
Maybe it was the whole experience with Randall.
Defeated at this point.
Well, I mean, he was just last season with Randall doing all these random stupid shit.
Sure.
That resulted in Donna nearly getting killed.
But you know what? We don't need Jim because Tabitha has Jade to help her figure things out. So
Tabitha, you can just die, Jim.
Bye, Jim.
You might as well.
We got this from here.
You might as well just walk back and.
They didn't come here to find you.
Right.
You just happen to be here.
Yeah, we don't care about you, Jim.
Just go.
Yeah.
Go away.
So it's funny when this series began. There was a lot of Jim hate, and I was not among those people. But I basically become one of those people. But Julie and Randall take a walk. And Julie is telling the story of his mother and the crazy kids. He's kind of not listening, but he sort of is at the same time. And
he's looking for mushrooms for Christy and Mariel, I guess.
Yeah.
He's making himself useful at the clinic, doing their bidding because they want some mushrooms.
I think I might have made a comment a long time ago that he might not be the most pleasant guy in the world to deal with, but he's a very much a ride or die type of guy. So Julie asks Randall where he's going.
Where he was going
on the bus. She reveals that she never even got her learner's permit to drive, and that he was just about to do so before ending up in Brumville.
Yeah, her dad was supposed to take her to the DMV when they got back from their trip, and obviously that didn't happen.
Which prompts an idea for Randall. And we cut back to Kenny, who's offering Acosta tea. He gives it to her. I don't think she ever even takes a sip.
She doesn't.
And he explains the process of how you first get here.
Yeah, he's basically like, hey, everybody's been where you are, and you get over it.
Right.
Is what he tells her, which, I get that she's not happy with that answer.
Right. At some point, you either adapt or you lose your damn mind. She's sympathetic to Kenny for like 2 seconds when he's talking about his parents both being dead.
Yeah, so she realized he lost both his parents here, and she's like, wow, I'm sorry.
It doesn't last long, though.
No.
The talismans comes up, and she learns that Boyd was the one that found him, and she has a hard-on for this person. Boyd is not her favorite person. She's sore about her gun being taken away. Do you really blame him? I don't. And he suggests... Kenny ends up suggesting fresh clothes, but she gets angry at him, irrationally so.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want your clothes.
I don't want your tea.
I don't want your tea. I don't want to get comfortable here. I'm going to find a way home.
And then she very rudely runs into Bacta on the way out.
Not before the jukebox starts playing.
That's right, yeah.
Jukebox starts playing Ooh Child by the 5 Stair Steps. And you know what I found very interesting about this scene? It's the jukebox... in the VIP booth, the one to the left of the door.
Yeah.
That's the one that Kenny smashed.
Yes.
A couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
He smashed that jukebox.
Yes.
And that's the one that's playing music. It fixed itself.
Yes.
It was broke. It was smattered glass.
So I'm wondering...
when we last saw that jukebox. And that jukebox is fixed now and playing music again.
Now, is that a continuity error, or...
I don't think so.
No.
I think that's very intentional.
Okay.
Because I was expecting them to go to the other one that's on the other side of the door for the next song, and it didn't. It still went to that one that should be broken. But it's all better.
Maybe the monsters came in and fixed it. I mean, there isn't a repairman.
There is.
All right.
But that's what I like. And I'm curious if people are going to pick up on that. That's the conversation I'm here for, is those little details, Yeah. We're not pointing it out in the show. Kenny's not like, oh, weird, I broke it. Why is it fixed?
Yeah.
No, he's just like, yeah, it does that. Like, how many times have they smashed these things?
Yeah.
That we're not concerned about the fact that it physically has been repaired. Now, I mean, never mind the fact that it randomly plays music. We know that. But it was broken. And now it's not broken.
Right. So Bacta has come here specifically to reopen. She wants to reopen the diner.
Yeah, so let's talk to him about reopening the diner. And I think that's a good call, because we need to give her something to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
and why wouldn't we still serve food here?
Right.
I get that, that was Tien Chen's thing, but people still need to eat.
I think more than a few people have said that Bacta is basically a glorified NPC player. Basically, like basically in a video game, it's just the thing in the background that doesn't actually do anything. And yeah, I kind of agree with that. So
the fact that we were reminded,
yes,
when we finally saw her this season, that her grandmother knew the rhyme.
Yep.
She's going to become more important to the story eventually.
Yeah, I mean, they're killing off characters left and right, so eventually
everybody has to become important, right?
So Elgin ends up further exploring the room and finds a bed and a dead body.
Yeah, so he moves a blanket on the floor. There's a body under it, a very
Dead? Long dead?
It's long dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it's decrepit body.
And then sees Kimono Lady, and I think he said, "Is this where it happens?"
He says, "Is this really where it happens?" What happens?
Right.
What is he doing? Obviously, he's doing something she told him to do. And this is, I think, the end of that. I don't think we get any more of that this episode.
Now, that dead body, you think that was the Kimono Lady?
No, I don't think so. It looked like a man.
Okay.
Like in a collared shirt. And I don't think it was Boulder Man.
Okay.
Because he didn't have a jacket on like Boulder Man did.
Gotcha.
Christopher, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what the heck is going on with him? And please go talk to somebody, Elgin. What are you doing? It can't be good.
No.
Can't be good.
No. I'm very curious to see where this story is going. But Victor knocks on Sarah's door with Jasper because he wants to use her basement to interrogate the puppet. Her reaction is exactly the same as mine. She's just so confused.
She looks really confused, but she lets him in. He's like, I gotta use your basement to get Jasper to tell me a secret, because that's where it happens.
All right, Victor, whatever. Go and use my basement.
And I'm gonna remind us again, like, Sarah's living in this house by herself.
Yeah.
Why? Does she have a whole house to herself? We got 50 people sleeping in Colony House, and she's got a whole house to herself, this girl.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Victor and Sarah should live together. I would actually watch a comedy show with just these two
The Odd Couple?
Yeah. So Randall takes Julie for a ride in the Colony House van, teaching her how to drive. I thought this was going to come back and they were going to get in trouble for this.
Yeah, right?
But that never happens.
Like, even as they're taking it, she's like, isn't this for emergencies?
Right.
He's like, it's fine. There's like 5 residents on the porch, but none of them have numbers, so they can't talk.
And
so they don't get in trouble for taking it.
And then we cut to Donna, and this is where I'm expecting her to notice that the van is being taken and, get mad at them, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so Henry's looking for booze.
Yes.
Which apparently they don't actually keep at Colony House. I'm surprised.
Yep.
And she says she can use a drink too, and she's like, come on, let's go. And she's going to take him to the bar.
Yes. Boyd goes to his office where he finds Acosta, and they get into a pissing match over her gun, which Boyd wins for now. She's definitely an arrogant ass.
Yeah.
But Boyd is not much better.
She's like, look, I'm a real cop.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she's got a point that she is a police officer. She has a badge.
Yes, but Boyd is former military.
Sure, but she is a cop.
Yes.
She's like, it's not like she's just, Randall who came off the bus with a gun and they took his gun.
Yeah.
And I get she killed somebody, and I do think he did the right thing by taking her gun. But I understand her frustration that this random dude just took her gun and she's a cop.
Yeah, I don't think that either one of these two characters come off good in the scene.
Yeah. And again, I really think that this is them. They need to fight so that they can end up eventually respecting each other and having a really good relationship. And I think they're going to get there. And I think that's going to be good for this town to have, more than one person to help keep the law.
Yeah.
Not that he keeps the law. Like, we haven't done that since,
season 1.
Since Frank.
Right. So, yeah, not only season 1, episode 2, basically. So, Henry and Donna go to Tom's, now Jade's, and she asks about Victor, and he doesn't think things are going good here. He said he had a moment of weakness this morning, wishing that he never actually found Victor, because it was much easier when he thought he was dead. And he thinks that he will never forgive himself for that thought, because what kind of father thinks that? And then they end up drinking. Tabitha is taken to the site of where her dreams took place. This is where the red stones are. Mm-hmm. And everything feels like her dream. And she describes her dream. Jade completely believes her. And Jim is very skeptical, poking holes in the story. So now, I don't blame him for doing that. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you're... I think it's good to question this.
Yeah.
But I just don't like how Jim is doing it.
Maybe be supportive at the same time.
Yeah.
So, from Tabitha's perspective, that little girl is supposed to be her.
Yes.
Because she says, I did this, I did that. So she says, in her dream, she was running. Everybody was running from something, and she hid behind the rock. And then something on the other side of the rock was making everybody scream. She would look up. But every single time she looked up, she'd wake up. So she never saw what it was that she was running from that was making everybody scream.
Maybe it was Kimono Lady.
Maybe it was Jasper.
Yeah, maybe.
No, like really, I think those scenes is taking place like in the 15 or 1600s.
Mm.
I don't understand the connection, but that like the way she's dressed, and then we've got the the dude that had the railroad spike in his eye. Like I feel like that's where this is from. Like that's all the same story, whatever that story is.
Gotcha.
I don't know. But I'm super curious where we're going with this.
Yeah, Jade thinks that this means there is no free will, that she was chosen, that she never had a chance, that she was always destined to find that tree.
Right, because...
Which means all of them were.
Because you've seen this since you were a kid, like, this was meant to happen. Like, it wasn't chance that you ended up here. You were going to end up here. And he's sounding very much like Tom during this discussion, by the way. Like, when he was talking about free will and determinism, I'm like, oh, that's Tom line.
Yeah.
And I think it maybe further cements, we were talking about this last week, like why he's seeing Tom. Yeah. And I really do feel like they both just kind of share this philosophical, like, mind space. You know, that's how they both think.
Yeah. So Tilly at County House finds Ellis, and this is where he's making tea, I think.
He's making tea for Fatima, yeah.
And like I said, this is one of the scenes where I thought, oh my god, this tea kettle is going to explode and Ellis is going to die. Because I was expecting something tragic to happen, so I thought I just got a really bad vibe in the scene. But he tells her she knows about the rotten food.
She tells him,
cravings.
rather, that she knows.
That's what I meant. And she's here for him. He confines even more that there is no baby.
Yeah, he tells her about the ultrasound, there is no baby. He makes tea, which is in big capital letters in my notes. And she tells him a story about a friend of hers. A friend of hers once told her, enjoy every moment and don't grieve the living before they're gone. And I think that's great. Because basically he's like, you know what? We don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Just live your life. Yeah.
So he ends up asking if she's afraid of dying. And at first she was. And then she got angry. She doesn't think it's the end of the adventure. She doesn't think death is the end.
Yeah, she thinks there's more to come, and she's not scared of dying anymore. I guess that's good.
Yeah. Yes. And by the way, I think it's mentioned in the scene, I don't know if we knew this before, but she has cancer.
Oh, of course we know that.
We did know that.
That's a big plot point.
Of course we did.
You know, she's got the... What kind of drugs was it? Morphine?
Yes.
Like,
yeah, we knew that last season.
We knew that. Yeah, she's traveling the country, she wants to visit all the horse races before she dies.
Right. So Fatima, meanwhile, has a rash where her IB is, and she starts experiencing pain, and then we have this really creepy, crazy-ass scene.
Her stomach... At first, I thought it was going to get bigger, like a baby was growing, but
it went the opposite direction.
Like emaciated.
Yeah.
And we see her ribs in like, well, that's special effects because that didn't happen.
Right.
It was really creepy and scary looking, and she's screaming for help. And Ellis and Tilly arrive with the tray of tea. But nothing's wrong.
Right. And she cries, you know, what's happening to her.
And it just makes it look like she's crazy.
Yeah.
Because they didn't see anything.
Right.
But I don't think it's nothing.
No, I don't think it is.
You know,
nothing.
They keep saying it's either she's losing her mind like Abby did, or it's something weird happening in From. I do think it's something weird happening in From because we're in From.
Yes.
I also question, like, do we know Abby was literally just losing her mind? I'm pretty sure Abby had From stuff happening with her too.
Right, probably.
Because she was like, oh, I remember this dream when I was a kid. I don't think it's literally like, oh, the stress got to her and she killed everybody, like they keep saying.
Perhaps she essentially was hearing from the same voices as Sarah.
Right. I feel like there was more going on with Abby.
Perhaps the same thing that's going on with Elgin.
Right.
Now.
Right.
So, yeah. I'm thinking there's probably a connection of some type. So, we see Randall, who's excited to be on the road driving, and he's about to give the car over to Julie when he starts seeing the cicadas, and I started really freaking out with this because I literally thought that he was going to end up crashing.
I was screaming at him. Julie doesn't see the cicadas.
Right.
And I think he's confused by this. So I was wondering, like, did he not know these were hallucinations for the last, 5 episodes? I think he thinks that they were really there.
Right.
Because he's confused that she doesn't see them.
So, I was wondering what the cicadas actually were. Like, is this a hallucination? Is this a PTSD thing? Is this some kind of influence by the forces at work here?
Right.
this kind of cemented for me, based on what happens, like when we get further into this, that I think this is a very much a manipulation thing from the forces.
I mean,
they wanted Randall to do this and run off into the woods.
Yeah, I don't think he is manifesting it in his head. I mean, hallucination as in they're not really there.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's an induced hallucination.
So
the same way, ballerina and all that stuff.
So he stops.
Finally,
he ends up.
He was trying to drive through it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this can't be good.
Right. I kept expecting the car to flip over and for Julie to die, and that to be the tragedy that ends this episode. But he runs off into the woods, and Julie ends up running after him. Christy and Ellis argue over antipsychotics that he wants to give to Fatima. So
he's trying to steal meds from the clinic.
But Christy's not having it.
She's like, these are powerful psychotics. It's going to make things worse, not better. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You can't just give her random medicine and hope it helps her.
Boyd ends up interrupting this argument. Ellis is getting desperate, but eventually he ends up giving over the pills. Boyd and Ellis end up talking. Ellis doesn't know what to do, as this is reminding him of his mom.
Yeah, and we have the same thing. We talk about, is it like what happened with Abby, or is it like the worms? And Ellis is like, which nightmare should I be afraid of? Because these are both really bad options.
Right. He doesn't know how to help her, and they end up hugging. Julie ends up finding Randall, but first she finds the ruins.
They're at the ruins.
Yes, so that's coming back into play.
Which we haven't, seen in a minute.
Nope. And Randall wants to leave.
And remember, they've never actually been here.
Right.
They have this sense of recognition because this is where they were held prisoner.
Right.
In their heads. They've never physically been to this place.
Julia wants to explore more. She feels something. Randall says, I don't feel shit.
I don't believe him.
No, I don't either. Randall promises he will tell her what happened with the whole cicadas thing when they leave. He practically begs her to leave.
Yeah, he knows this is bad.
He's clearly terrified of this place, and he finally convinces her to go. Okay. Take a sip of water.
Then we cut to Fatima, who's in the greenhouse, and she's looking at her rotten food. I think she's about to feast down again.
Yeah, she starts moaning. She's crying in pain. Tilly tries to comfort her, and then
she's like, "You're not alone. I'm going to help you."
And eventually, she ends up stabbing Tilly.
She grabs gardening shears and just stabs Tilly.
I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they just did that. And as she's laying dying, she tells Fatima that she better run.
She goes, "You have to run."
Now, it's crazy to me. She just got stabbed by Fatima. Her concern is for Fatima, the person who literally just killed her. And she knows that.
Right.
And her concern, that's kind of just crazy for me.
So Ellis comes in, and Tilly dies.
They literally just killed Tilly.
They just killed Tilly. And Fatima says, "What have I done?"
Yeah, and by the way, I guess that means that Tilly is not actually sus after all.
Well, so okay. First time watching.
Yep.
When she says, "You have to run," my first reaction was, she knows something. I was like, oh, she is suspicious.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but I feel like Tilly was trying to do something. And I didn't feel like she's telling her to run because, she just killed somebody. Like, in my first viewing, I was like, what does she mean you have to run? Like, it was creepy the way she said it. And I've never really suspected Tilly, but in that moment, I was like, wait, was she coming to help her because she's actually trying to, like, help deliver this evil being? Or, like, is there something going on here, And, like, what does she have to run from? And then on the second time, I'm like, oh, well, she's just, saying, like, they're going to be pretty upset with you for killing me, so you got to, like, go take care of yourself now.
Right.
But I don't know. It was weird. The whole scene was really weird. Like I said, when I first was watching, I was like, are we dreaming? Fatima's going to wake up, right? This isn't really happening.
Yeah.
Like, this can't be true.
They didn't literally just kill Tilly. But no, they
like,
literally
she just grabbed the shears and cut her open.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know why I did that.
This doesn't seem to bode very well for Fatima. They're going to insist that she goes in the box when they find out that what she did.
Or at the very least, like, in isolation.
Yeah.
In the, go live in a cell.
Right.
Which, I mean, they need to do anyways, because they don't know what the heck's happening with her. And, you know, if she does have an alien baby smash out of her belly, maybe she shouldn't be around other people.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, that's the episode.
That was a pretty shocking ending.
Whew. So, it's a lot of stuff going on in this episode.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of Jasper being interrogated.
Yes.
But not full on. Like, it didn't go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But maybe now that it's in Sarah's basement, it's going to work.
Yes, maybe.
So I'm sure we're going to see more interrogation next week.
Okay, so more interrogating
We're
puppets.
still figuring out what's going on with Jasper.
Right.
What is up with Elgin and this secret chamber?
I don't know, but I can't imagine it's good.
Like, who do we think died there?
Yeah,
Yeah. What does Kimono Woman have to do with it? And what is she telling him to do now? And she's, he said this is where it happens. He didn't say happened. He said happens, as in something's destined to happen.
Yep, in the future.
Or something keeps happening.
So this room seems to be meant for someone.
Right? Does it involve killing someone?
Yeah.
Is this a kill the boy moment?
Yes.
It feels like it.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to try to kill Julie. Maybe that's what he has to sacrifice Julie.
Or maybe it does feel like it's kind of involving Fatima a little bit. If that wind chime was like for her, and that has something to do with it.
Well, Fatima appeared. I'm sorry. The Kimono Woman appeared in the picture with Fatima.
Right.
So it would seem to indicate that this does involve Fatima.
No, I don't think that is Fatima.
No,
I feel like this story's involving Fatima.
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form.
So which
maybe this woman is the last version of Fatima.
Mm-hmm.
The way that Jade is Christopher and Ethan is Victor.
Gotcha.
Like maybe Kimono Lady was like the last pregnant woman.
Which would indicate that Kimono Woman is involved with Fatima's pregnancy. And if that's the case, then this is definitely not a good situation.
Right.
We don't believe that.
Is he supposed to put Fatima in this room?
Maybe. Is that where the baby's supposed to be delivered?
Maybe that's the thing that happens. I don't know.
Right.
Something happens here. So I made a list. I was like, okay, I want to remember all the things that have happened in this root cellar because we've seen it a bunch of times, and I don't know the connection between any of these things. But we had Jade see the boulder man there. Remember the dude smashed with a giant boulder.
Yep.
This is where Julie was transported the night that she went through the tree at the Colony House Massacre. This is where Boyd saw a ballerina. He saw her coming out of the root cellar.
Yeah.
And of course, this is where Victor hid the night of the 1970s massacre.
How about Elgin's motivations? Is he even on the side of anybody anymore?
He believes
he
Kimono Woman, who was like, help me, I need help, and then you can go home.
So he believes that he's doing whatever he's doing here.
He thinks he's being a hero.
Right. Is in the best interest of the people of the town.
The way Sarah thought she was being a hero when she physically killed someone and then left the door open to kill other people and then almost killed a little boy.
And then taking it back to something we've already mentioned, perhaps that was also, that's what Abby thought she was being as well.
Right.
As a hero.
Right.
So, I'm starting to get the point where if you don't trust somebody, I don't think it's because they're a mole. But I think it's because you generally can't trust people because
they're being manipulated.
Exactly. So if you don't trust somebody, it's maybe potentially because they are being manipulated by the town in some way.
And it's possible there are other characters being manipulated and doing things because voices are telling them to that we don't know about. That we have no idea about yet.
Maybe Claire's being manipulated, for instance.
Right. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
But she's doing all sorts of crazy things that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And setting up all these situations.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I'd like that. If it's suddenly like, look at all these things she did and all these weird moments that we've seen her. That would be fun. Fun little game of Clue. So Tabitha, I guess she's going to get to spend the night at the cabins because, they're still there.
Yep.
So they're going to spend the night. Nothing could go wrong there, right?
No. Maybe we're going to figure out what that thing that's...
What's happening at night. Maybe now that she's here, like, actually something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, she's the one that's meant to be here at the cabins.
So, we're now 7 episodes deep and we're still going back to these cabins.
Yeah.
So something has to happen here.
Right.
But, yeah.
And then, the other thing I have is whatever's happening with Randall, Julie, and Mariel It's definitely not over. They made us think it's over. It was a season 2 thing. We've moved past it. Whatever. It's not over.
No.
They're telling us, like, we're better than that. We're not giving you random plot lines for no reason and then ending them. It's going to come back. It's going to have a full circle.
The fact that we're revisiting the ruins is, like, interesting in itself.
Right.
And, yeah.
Like, and that tells me also, like, nobody knows what the heck the ballerina was about, and it was weird and silly. And it tells me we're not going to forget it. I feel like it's going to come back. It's going to make sense.
Yeah.
We just got to be patient and wait for it to make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than willing to go along with the ride. I understand if there are fans that are not. And I would say that maybe perhaps those people are not actually fans of the show, that this is not the show for them. Move on.
Yeah. Or maybe, they'd be fans that would be better off binging it once the series is over.
Yes.
And that all the answers are there, and then they can just watch it.
I kind of hate suggesting that because...
Because we need the ratings.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, do we have anything else to say before concluding?
There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 episodes left.
Yeah, I mean... and
then we gotta wait another year, and that makes me anxious.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that the whole Tilly being murdered thing is going to be a big thing going forward.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that can't be good for anybody.
No.
But I'm glad that she was ready to die. She'd already come to terms with that. She wasn't scared. She thinks there's something else for her. Who knows? Maybe we're going to see more Tilly because, dead people seem to have jobs here.
Yes.
So maybe her something more is she literally is destined to become an entity in From.
Perhaps. All right. Anything else to say before concluding?
I'm just really eager to watch the next episode and see where we're going.
Which now we can.
Now we can. Maybe we should go watch it.
We should. All right. So we would like to hear from you. What do you think of this episode? Where do you think this story is going? And what do you think of this podcast?
Yeah.
All right. Stacie can be reached at.
I've reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TVN Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions or on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the new Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video as well as subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's it. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions signing off.